Welcome to Trulyfit.
Get ready to join us as we suspend all professional credibility in this episode of the Health Purge. For 1 hour, Steve and Rebecca will purge their deepest, most controversial health and fitness takes, with nothing said having any lasting consequences after the hour ends.
Welcome to the special episode of the Trulyfit Podcast, the Health Purge episode, where none of our takes are actually on us. After this hour, don't hold us to anything that we've said here. If you've ever seen the movie The Purge, where you have 24 hours to commit any crime that you want, you don't get in trouble, this is the version of that. To give you another explanation or definition here, it might be the thing that you think in the back of your brain before you go to bed at night, or maybe you had one too many drinks and you want to say it at a party, but you don't say it. So this is the level we're talking about here. We certainly don't believe these things, but we might think these things. That's the best way to describe it. And for me, this was hard because I already have a lot of controversial takes that I actually believe in. So now I have to think of things that I don't actually believe in. So, but this will be fun. Beck, I think most people already know you by now, listen to the podcast, but I want to give a brief rundown of who you are and what you do. And then you throw it to us. You give us your first purge thought here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Rebecca Washuta. I'm a board certified state licensed dietitian. I have my own private practice here in Miami Beach, and I focus on longevity and metabolic health. So, okay, let me ask you, are we starting most controversial or least controversial? Should we build up, or should I just hit you with it?
Just hit me with it. Just go right for it.
Okay. Again, I cannot be held accountable after this 1 hour podcast for these views. Here's my hot take. I think alcohol is not the problem. So over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of research that comes out that says that, alcohol causes cancer, and it's linked to esophageal cancer and stomach cancer and a slew of other cancers. And, a lot of Gen Z now not drinking. They've seen alcohol sales decline. And I think that's in relation to, a lot of this research that's come out. And I don't think alcohol is the problem. I think it is the reason why you are drinking. That's the problem, right? I don't think it's actual alcohol that's causing the issue. Because if you look at blue zones all over the world, they drink. There's only one blue zone in California where they actually don't drink alcohol. And so, I think if you are drinking in a way that's social and you say, hey, I'd like to have a drink, or you're drinking to celebrate, right? I'd love to have a glass of champagne. That is very different than the thought of, I need a drink, I'm stressed, I'm numbing, I'm hiding, I'm running away, I'm trying not to deal with things. And so I think it's like an onion, right? You have to, the action is, okay, someone is drinking alcohol, but what's behind it is actually the issue. And so I think if you're in a bad relationship, if you are not chasing your dreams, right? Because the other thing that alcohol will do is it makes you feel crappy the next day. So you're less likely to get up and go to the gym and kill it and, go to that job interview or whatever, right? It sort of can keep you stuck in a rut. And so, I think it's really the intention behind it. I don't think it's actually the acetaldehyde that's causing the cancer and the issue. I think it's your emotions and your thoughts and being stuck in that place and being, depressed about your life. And that idea that maybe you have something inside you that you need to give to the world and you're not giving it, and alcohol is sort of like the beard, say, right? That's keeping you sort of where you are. But I don't think alcohol is the problem. I think, if you looked at two people who drank the same amount of alcohol, but one was doing it socially, or to sit down on the couch and have a glass of wine, or have your favorite liqueur or whatever, and the other person is doing it because they feel stressed, or they feel overwhelmed, or they feel depressed, or they're trying to numb. It's really the intention behind it. So yeah, I know as a dietitian that's controversial because there's a lot of research about that, but I really think it's the why behind the drinking, not the actual drinking itself, that causes the health issue.
Yeah, think of more than that though too. The why, the amount, and then I think the age range and where you are in your life, I think matters a lot for this, because I had a conversation with Dr. Blair Steele, who otherwise is just Blair to us. And she's an addiction specialist, right? She deals with these things all the time. And, I sort of proposed to her the question. I said, well, what's better for a 16-year-old to go get a 24 pack with 3 of his friends and go in the woods and slam back some beers, or be sitting inside all day playing video games and have no friends? To me, that's an obvious answer, right? To me, it's the former, not the latter, for your mental health, at least, right? Which is more important at that age than your physical health. Your body's going to be able to get rid of the, a little bit of alcohol through your system, through your liver, right? So it's an age range. It's how you're going about the process. Yeah, if you're having 6 glasses of whiskey a night by yourself and you're 43 and you hate your job, that lends to what you just said, right? It's you're doing it because it's a mask, right? As opposed to just the physiology behind the alcohol. Admittedly, I try to think. I'm not, on average, I probably have like just a drink a week. There's some weeks I don't have any drinks, and there's some drinks I have 2 or 3 drinks, right? It just depends. But like a drink or 2 a week. That's like over the course of my entire life, right? Like I've done that for 25 years, right? And I have no signs of any health issues, right? That have come from that, right? It's a slight stressor, right? Could be maybe even be considered a hormesis if we want to put it to that extent. Yes. It is a hot take. It is a good one in that, of course, we're not going to tell everybody go out and if you're someone who doesn't drink, let's say, introduce it into your life, as opposed to saying, if it's already in your life, is it really detrimental physiologically, or is it the psychological reason that
right? It's like, before you reach for that drink, are you drinking because you want a glass of champagne to celebrate and be social with friends? Or is it like, yeah, you're depressed, you don't like your job, you're numbing, you are afraid of, taking that next step. And so you want to have a glass of whiskey. And what you said about the kids, right? Is it better to stay at home, play video games, or go out and have 6 beers, right? In the woods with your friends. The former Surgeon General wrote this book right after COVID about the physical impacts of loneliness, and just how like social isolation and loneliness like physically impacts your body. Like loneliness is the new sitting, right? Sitting was the new smoking. Now loneliness is the new sitting. It's really detrimental. And I think you're seeing that a lot more now with Gen Z. And again, I'm not saying like everyone needs to drink alcohol, but I think if you can be social and fun, we all know those people who don't drink and are like the life of the party, right? And if you can do that and go out and have a wonderful time, amazing. But if you need a little like, social lubricant, I think it's much better, right? And you're doing it for the right reasons, and you are with friends, and it's social. And that's another thing you see in the blue zones. It's like they're doing it socially, right? They're not drinking alone in a bar. They're like always with friends, and it's always like a family gathering or a social gathering. So, yeah, so I don't think alcohol is the problem. I think it's why you are drinking. That's the problem. Your thoughts, your emotions.
I think peptides are a Chinese plant to get America sick.
Extreme. Okay, go on.
Most peptides are made in China or India. Of course, there's some U.S. people now because they see the money in it.
Yeah, but isn't most everything made in China?
The synthetic peptides?
But all of our product that we bring in is made in China, right?
Oh yeah. So you want me to go to the next level and say that all of our products are trying to tear us down? Because I could go that route too. I mean, look at TikTok. So
that's true. Okay, go on.
So with this like TikTok wave of what I would call you look like the claviculares, like of just like the vanity wave, right? It comes at the perfect time over the past few years where people are so hyper obsessed and willing to do whatever they can to look a certain way and go about whatever they have to, right? A lot of people are doing this silently. And some others are doing this. More people are doing it than you think, right? Because so many people are silent about this, and right. These things are made in sketchy places. You don't know what's in these vats before these other things, right? They're not vetted. There's been no science to it. Like if you just named this something like, okay, there's no science. We've done no research. They're made in sketchy labs in China. You have to inject them into your body. It's like, oh, would you take this thing? People are like, what? No, what are you talking about? It's like, well, you can lose a little bit of weight and maybe you can gain some more muscle. It's like, sure. So I just feel like there's a nefariousness behind these, and the spread of these, and they're not insofar as they're just using the psychology of the population already who is willing to go above and beyond and take risks to look a certain way, and they're pushing it. And I caution people because I've already read a ton of anecdotal. Okay, this is anecdotal, right? I don't have science. No one has science on these things. But man, you hear these stories of these people who come to the doctors with things that the doctors have never seen before, or like they just can't figure it out, and they're all on peptides. I don't think it's too far of a stretch to say it's not just a coincidence.
Interesting. A Chinese plant to make America sick. Huh. I like it. I mean, it's extreme, but I respect that. I will say, I don't know if I can go that far, but I will say, yes, you need to be careful where it's sourced, right? Do I believe that there are doctors and clinics out there that can source this properly? Yes, because a ton of pharmaceuticals are made in China. And like, I'm not sure if these peptides are like approved by the Chinese FDA, but there are obviously like manufacturing facilities there, right? I used to work for a biotech company that was based in China. So there are, really great biotech facilities over there that manufacture drugs and biologics like peptides. However, yeah, you need to be careful where it's sourced. You can't just, right? I think people say like, oh, it's coming from a doctor. And it's like, well, what does he know, right? Like you need to question your doctor and where it's from and what type of like quality control is going on, because yeah, we can't just be injecting anything in our body. It's scary.
Well, it's not just the sourcing. I mean, if you can source anthrax from the right place, do you want to put it in your body? Like it could be 100% anthrax. It doesn't mean you want to put it in your body. So I still feel like there's the double entendre there, which you have both the fact that we don't understand the sourcing and what's going on, and
there's not enough research into the actual peptides. Yeah.
And I've said this before about other things too. You can test one individual container of anything. That doesn't mean the next container is coming in with the same things. That's in regular supplements too, right? You can go get gummies that have apparent like vitamins on it, right? And you told me how that works. They basically go down a line and they get sprayed with some stuff, right? You can grab some of those gummies and look at it and be like, oh, this has the right amount of vitamin C that it says in the bottle, and the very next bottle could have half the amount, right? So like you don't know unless you're testing the actual stuff that's going in your body, not just like the general product.
So what they do, and listen, I can't speak to like these specific peptides in, where they're produced and the specifics to like each individual peptide. But in general, what they do is it's called lot release testing. So they'll take certain, so say there's 100 peptides in lot one. They'll take random vials and they will test those random vials, and like they should be tested for purity and potency and sterility. Are they? And that that's generally how it's done to be approved and to be safe. But are they doing that? Very, very hard to say.
Okay. Back to you here for your purge number 2.
Okay. Purge number 2, similar to purge number 1. I think, and this is anecdotal, obviously, right? I think the majority, and this is anecdotal and it's kind of woo-woo, but stick with me. The majority of disease is caused by unresolved emotions. So this is a little bit of science. It goes back to like Chinese medicine, Ayurveda and stuff, where they link specific emotions to specific organs, right? And so like, let's get super personal here. Our mother passed away of stomach cancer. And so stomach is associated with stress and anxiety. And like anyone who knew her knew she was like a ball of anxiety, right? A ball of stress. And so I really think there is a connection. And then there's a connection between like the lungs and grief, right? They connect like the liver and anger, right? So I think if you were to unpack that and look at a lot of these terminal illnesses, emotions are stored in the body, right? They can be stored in fascia. They can be stored in your organs. And so I think that there's like a lot of unresolved emotions that are causing disease rather than like, something more physical. And that's why I think when you see these cases of like spontaneous remission, it's because people were able to sort of like, work it out in their mind and go to therapy and meditate and start a new life and figure it out. And I think in general, typically when someone gets a cancer diagnosis, it like stops them in their tracks and changes their life, right? They say like, whoa, I got to change things. I'm going to go on a silent yoga retreat to Bali for 2 weeks, get my life together, right? They change the way they're living. They sort of shift their perspective. And I think that has a lot to do with the healing too. It's not just like the radiation or the surgery. It's like dealing with your emotions. There's a lot of psychology to it. What do you think?
I wouldn't argue against it, that it's not at least a portion of it, but I do have a very apropos contradictory take to this. So this is one of my suspend professional credibility purge takes here. That's the exact sort of opposite of this. So it'll be funny I don't want to just trample on yours. I want to continue to talk about yours, but I think introducing mine allows us to do that. I think dishwashers are causing stomach cancer all across the country.
Like the dishwasher detergent or the dishwasher machine?
Yeah, the detergent. So not necessarily
because like you shouldn't eat a dishwasher pod, yet we're eating the plates. We're eating off of the plates that use the dishwasher pod. Yeah.
I mean, how much of that soap is just like, you can't see it, but it's still on those and you're using them every day I run my dishwasher once a day, right? So like how much of that soap stays on everything, the glasses and all of that, right? What percentage of that is then going back into my body and how is that affecting me? And if you look at stomach cancer rates specifically, there's like a really strong correlation to like finances. So like the stomach cancers in like West Virginia and Kentucky are very low, states that have less money. And in California, New Jersey, and New York, they're the highest. So could that just be some sort of environmental thing? Well, I don't know. What the fuck does New York and California have in common environmentally? I would say nothing. So, now I don't disagree that there's a psychological component of some sort. I'm sure, who knows how much of a role it plays into all sicknesses, right? Sicknesses of the body. But
right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm officially going to stop using regular dishwasher detergent soap and like look for some hippy dippy shit, because I just like, this is like a thought I had one night randomly. I'm like, how much? Because my long story short is my 1.5-year-old got sick, just like diarrhea from a bottle. And I was like, I don't think I washed that bottle out good enough. I think that bottle was soapy. And then I started to think like, how much soap do we actually ingest? And I know it's typically non-toxic, but if you're ingesting it every day over the course of like 35 years, what is soap doing to your stomach?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I use a like fairly clean brand, so I'll share that with you. Because you're right, over the course of a lifetime, how much are we consuming? How many pods have we already consumed?
We're making fun of like whoever that was, like Gen Z for eating pods. I'm like, well essentially, I've eaten more pods than you. So
we're doing it every day. Yeah, interesting. Okay, I like that. All right, throwing it to you. Oh no, yeah, it's your turn.
Either one. This isn't that controversial, but I'm gonna say it in such an outlandish way to make it controversial. You don't need any other fruit except watermelon. Just throw the rest of them away. You can just do watermelon. Watermelon's the best fruit. Let me explain why watermelon's the best fruit. If you look at fruit from things that are important to me and things that I've even learned from you, I'll go through all of them. First, I'll go through the more health things I've learned from you. No matter how much you think you know about a fruit, where it's sourced, which we were just talking about, you have no idea what's going on with the outside of this fruit. You can't possibly know unless it's growing in your backyard. You do not know what's being sprayed on this and what contaminants are on this and what's going on with the fruit. So having a fruit with an exterior that you don't eat is important if you're somebody who's looking not for just like, I want to be stronger, but I don't want to get cancer. So watermelon has that, check. Watermelon, I would say, by all metrics, is the top 3 most delicious fruits, right? Anybody who eats fruit says watermelon is delicious, right?
I don't know anyone who doesn't like it. I've never met anyone who's like, not for me, don't like it. Yeah.
Check. It has some nutrient density, right? It has, it's got a little bit of potassium and a little bit of vitamin C and a little bit of vitamin A, and it's got, lycopene and some other things in it. Right? I don't know what else it has in it. You probably know more than me, but I know it has some of that. And it's just cheap, right? It's for the volume that you're getting. It is a relatively cheap fruit if you're going to compare it to other fruits per bite. Let's say it might not be per calorie because it's so water dense. So I can't say that, but certainly per bite, right? Per how much it's going to fill you. If you get a giant like $7 watermelon, I could feed a family of 4 snacking on it for 7 days. You can't do that with anything else. I mean, my 1.5-year-old eats $7 blueberries in an hour. So it checks all 4 of those boxes. Cost, it has an outside cover. It's delicious, right? And what's the other thing I said? And it's healthy for you. It has the appropriate amount of nutrients. So why mess with anything else? Fill your refrigerator with watermelon.
It was hard for me to get behind the peptide thing, but I support you on this. I do. I fully support you on this. You're right. It's a great source of lycopene. The like white part towards the rind is a good source of rutin, which is another phytonutrient. It is really high in water. Technically, if you looked at it from like a glycemic index scale, it's higher because it's higher in sugar. But if you look, like you said, it is much higher in water. And if you take into account portion size, in that like you're not going to eat an entire watermelon to yourself, right? You're going to have like a couple slices. The glycemic load is average, is low. So it's not going to, really upset your blood sugar if you're having appropriate serving sizes. Yeah, everybody loves it. It's like, I don't know if anyone's ever eaten watermelon and like felt sad. It just like reminds you of summertime. So you're hydrating, you're getting some nutrients in. I mean, it's heavy. So maybe that's a plus. You're lifting weights, you're getting your, your exercise in. So yeah, I can support that. I fully get behind that.
That's the other anecdotal thing I wanted to add here is I just feel better when I'm eating watermelon. I don't know why. I don't know if it's like some nostalgia thing because you had it at picnics when you're 7 years old with all your aunts and uncles around, and it's middle of July and you're out of school, or if it's like I actually need the hydration or some sort of micronutrient that's in there, mineral or something. But I honestly, there's not a lot of fruits I eat and I feel like somewhat instantaneously better, if that makes sense. Like I feel my stomach feels good, my energy feels good, and that is certainly one of them. And also, I don't know if you ever had a watermelon margarita before, where they actually take the meat of the watermelon and they grind it up and they use it, but it's absolutely amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah, there's a hotel that we stay at in Barcelona where they do that, and it's the freshest, most delicious watermelon. They'll do it in front of you, and I don't drink martinis. I strictly drink wine and champagne. It's the only place I will get a cocktail. Amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. My next take. I think this is like 2 parts. If you are going to take a GLP-1, right? Mounjaro, Ozempic, you need to have mandatory weekly consults with a nutritionist and a personal trainer. Everyone's looking for the shortcut. And what happens is you lose muscle mass. The minute you come off of it, you haven't learned how to eat, you go back to your old habits, and then you're just yo-yoing. So I think it should be mandatory. Like, in the way that they in order to get a new prescription, they have to check your blood sugar. Like in order to get the next prescription, you have to show that you've met with a nutritionist and a trainer. And then like on that same note, I think if you are taking an antidepressant, not just anti-anxiety, like if you need Xanax once in a while, like whatever, no big deal. But if you're taking an antidepressant, right, something you take every day, long-term, you need to be seeing a therapist. Like you need to be in ongoing therapy to like address the root cause and figure out what's going on. I think that is responsible medicine.
I think that's a great take, but I'll one up it with conspiracy theories. I mean that would only be the case if people actually wanted people to become healthy. And wanted people to be off the medications. And I don't think that's the case. And I think if you instituted the things you're talking about, they would be effective. They would be very, very effective. Their efficacy would double. And that's not necessarily what people want, because then sometimes also you're able to wean your way off of these things by saying, maybe I just needed a lifestyle change and the medicine was just a Kickstarter. That's not what they want, because they're not going to make the money. They want you on for life. So I mean, I agree. I think that's a great purge. And I mean, imagine that, just to walk through that scenario. Imagine the revenue that would come to America if that was the case, right? So you're like, hey, you need to be in conjunction with some sort of like nutritionist and personal trainer and fitness expert if you're on X, Y, and Z. Hey, you need to be talking to maybe it's just a counselor, let's say, because there's honestly there's not enough actual professional doctors to speak to. It's a whole nother problem, but there's not. You'll be booked out for years. But a counselor, you need to speak to a counselor. Like, imagine the revenue and the jobs that would create, especially with what I'm going to talk about next, AI coming and taking over so many of these like menial day-to-day tasks. And we need more of these human person-to-person things, right? So what a window, a job opportunity that would open up for the people in the health and fitness and medical industries that we're in.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such an interesting point you made, because like, is it a coincidence that these drugs function in a way where when you come off them, you actually gain weight back twice as fast because you've lost muscle, right? You know this. Anytime you lose weight, you're losing muscle. So you have to like work very hard to work out and eat enough protein. But people who aren't doing that and who aren't eating well and aren't working out, you're losing a ton of muscle. Majority is what burns muscles. What is what burns calories, right? So, and keeps your blood sugar stable. So the minute you come off it, you go back to your old eating habits. Now you're going to gain weight back twice as fast, and then you're going to need to go back on it. So it's like, yeah, you're intended to be on it forever. And if you even think about like the antidepressants, right, like Zoloft, those types of things, there's not like a specific procedure on how to wean off it. Like, you don't find that in the literature where it's like, okay, like antibiotics, you take it for 14 days, you're good, or whatever, right? Or like you've been on steroids before, right? You like dose up and then you dose down with the steroids. They don't really have that for like, there's not, I've met with people and, who have been on it for years, and like getting off antidepressants is really hard. There's not like a great way to do it. So it's like, is that a coincidence, right? That we're on these drugs for so long that we're like, basically incentivized to continue to take it and continue to pay for it.
Yeah, I would say outside of, starting a relationship, because this could be very, I don't know. I don't think your partner would like this too much, but in any other instance in life, when you're starting something, there should be in the background between you and the professional, or just yourself or you and the other person, like an exit strategy of some sort. That's a business term, but I think everyone understands what I mean by that, right? Whatever it is, right? I just got a car a few weeks ago. Like, upon buying the car, I already had like an exit strategy. Like, oh, I'm probably going to drive this car for the next X amount of years. We'll put this many miles on it. I feel like I'm going to buy this car over this car because the resale value of this particular car might be a little bit better than that, given it has X, Y, and Z features, right? Like, there should be an exit strategy upon basically anything that you're going to do in life. It should run through your head. Now, how much you flesh that out depends on the seriousness of what's going on. But for putting a medicine into your body, I think that's a very serious thing. So if your doctor doesn't discuss that with you, or whoever your health professional, I think it's a problem, right? So whatever it is, you're going on cholesterol medication, you're going on metformin, like okay, well, how long? I'm gonna have lifestyle changes. What is my taper off exit strategy? Can I be off this in 6 months? What are the numbers I would need to meet in order to get off this? Let's talk about this. I'm not just going to go on something in perpetuity.
Right. Yeah. And I think part of the problem is we have general practitioners prescribing it, the GLP-1s and the antidepressants. And so if you were talking to a counselor, like if you were working with a specialist, you could talk about those things. But if it's just your general practitioner, I mean, it's not even their fault. They don't have time, right? And they're not experts. They're not experts in the field anyway. So it's like they shouldn't even be prescribing those medications. But anyway,
yeah,
okay.
I just want to make that clear. They don't want that burden. They're forced. Yeah. That burden is forced on them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's me or you. You can go. You got another one left in the tank here.
Your turn.
I'm not sure if I believe this. I believe this in some fashion, but how I'm going to describe it in how fast it is going to come, I think is maybe the outlandish part I don't believe. But maybe. I think there will be no health or fitness or influencers in 5 years? None. It won't
Why?
exist. You won't make money off of it anymore. There'll be no money to be made.
Why?
AI works best when it has more ample information, more data. AI can look at every platform now, right? YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, right? Keep naming all these social media platforms, Facebook, and it has now hundreds of millions maybe of hours of like people using video and talking and probably billions of comments and likes and all these things, right? It's so like, that's all AI is. It's like throw data into it so it can be as precise as it can in its learning models. It has unlimited data in this area. Now with influencers, the whole issue with an influencer is there is no personal relationship. They are just an online entity. You don't even really know. Right now, you can be following someone who's not real. If I told you that, you wouldn't know, right? You couldn't be that surprised because
Right.
you've never seen them in real life, right? So like this is just an entity online that you're dealing with. So if your only interaction with something is online, what is the difference if it's real or fake? Now, you might say, well, I don't want to follow something that's fake, but you won't know, is what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say this AI will be upfront with you in the first place. I'm trying to say that it's going to be easy to build some sort of influencer of some sort, and you won't even know that it is one. And they will be able to build better content than you ever could because they're going to own the algorithms because they have all the data to do it already.
Yeah.
Already, if you're trying to beat the algorithm, what are you doing? You're going to Claude and asking him how to beat the algorithm. So he already knows. He's going to. So
Right.
I don't think that's going to be a job. Like there's been a lot of money in that industry. I think that money is going to go away. I think when everyone is zigging, you need to zag. And if you don't have a footprint in real life, if you don't have the ability to work with people in real life, you were going to be in for a rude awakening.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll counter that with, just to play devil's advocate. I think as we go more into like, the future with technology and AI, that like there'll be pushback in the same way that even now, right? Like kids are on flip phones. Kids are like, people are buying vinyls. You know what I'm talking about? Like Taylor Swift makes most of her money now, like CDs out the window. Now vinyls, like from, I don't know, the 70s, like that's a thing. Like the artists sell vinyls now. People want an old school record player, right? So it's like, I think there will be some nostalgia for like the way things were. And so I wonder.
I'm not sure if that's a counter or you're adding to my point, because I'm agreeing with you.
But if there's a nostalgia for the way things were, then you'll like prioritize stuff. You like, I think things will be so good with AI. You're like, I don't want that. I want real. I want messy. I want like somebody who I know is real, right? I want somebody who like, I hear their kids screaming in the background. Or you're saying like, no, AI will even compensate for that. And will create influencers that aren't perfect, that are real and relatable.
I wasn't saying that, but that actually very well could happen. I wasn't saying that,
Yeah.
but if I were to take your point and agree with it and try to add to it, I would say that then the only way it'll be successful is if you were unbelievably honest and not hiding anything. And that's not what most influencers are, right? So like you would have to be the few 5 or 10% who are unbelievably honest and upfront about your life and what's going on, and not a facade, not fake, not when I did 14 takes before this, or I used this one particular app to cinch in my waist, right? Like this is, you're going to have to be like beyond authentic, I think, to be able to grab it, because otherwise it's going to seem like AI, even if it's not.
Yeah. And I wonder if we'll sort of graduate from social media, right? In the way that like when I was in college, we were on Facebook. That was the thing, right? Facebook was cool. Facebook was very cool for the young kids. Yeah. Facebook used to be cool, right? Because it was all there was. Cool. And then like now, right? It's for like your grandparents and stuff. So I don't have the Facebook app. I don't go on it. I think in my Instagram business posts to Facebook anyway. So, but anyway, I've graduated from Facebook. I'm no longer interested in like what's on.
Well, you're missing out on what 50 and 60-year-olds think this CDC guideline should be in certain things, and I think that's really important. And a lot of my former people I graduated from high school who you got 880 on their SATs and were in the remedial classes. They have a lot. Yeah. They have a lot to say. So you're missing out.
They have a lot to say, right? But like, now it's like such an easy thing to say, like Facebook, I'm not interested. I wonder if we'll get that way about all social media. Like, oh, social media is so inundated with AI. Now I only do like maybe in-person things will be the new flex. Like, oh, like I'm not on social media. I only do in person, right? I only host, right, or something like that. I'm hoping. I mean, I don't know. Otherwise, the world is going to the robots, right?
I completely agree. I think the in-person stuff is going to make a big comeback. That it's already shown its head, and I think it's going to be bigger and bigger. People are going to crave that. Now, you do see a trickle back to the office in general. A lot of businesses just aren't allowing people to work from home anymore. They're asking people to come in for a day or two. I don't know why. I think the productivity at home is great. Maybe it is just a paternal thing, a big brother thing. We want to see you. We want hands on, but there's still a large portion of people who do work from home that are never going to go back or have their own businesses, because that's just what this technology wave has allowed us to do. So because of that, conferences and meetups and all of these things are people are willing to pay top dollar for them, because it's kind of their only opportunity to get out.
Yeah, that's a good point. My turn. Do we have one more? Room for one more? Room for one more. I already know how you feel on this, but I feel like it's important to put it out there. You don't need to lift heavy weights, okay? I know there's such a push for, especially in the longevity field, everyone after the age of 30 needs to lift the heavy weights and go to the gym and do these workouts. And like the truth is, if you're looking at longevity and you want to look at the blue zones, right, with the longest lived people in the world, none of them are bodybuilders. They're all skinny. I think maybe you did an episode on that. Centenarians are skinny. None of them are bodybuilders. You don't need to pack on 40 pounds of muscle. You don't need to eat 200 grams of protein a day. You need to move your body all day long. And, protein can actually decrease the rate of, certain longevity proteins like sirtuins. It increases mTOR. Like, it has too much protein can actually have a really negative effect, and people aren't talking about it. So I say yoga, Pilates, like whatever you want to do, just stay active, but you don't have to lift heavy weights. Don't have to do it.
Yeah, I don't even necessarily think that's a purge take. I think to make that a purge take, you should say you shouldn't lift heavy weights.
You shouldn't lift heavy weights. You'll get hurt.
You shouldn't. As opposed to you don't have to. Yeah, of course you don't have to. I think that's not outlandish. It is probably, listen, to a lot of communities it's blasphemy. But I would say you could even push that statement to you shouldn't, because the risk reward in most instances is just not there. The reward is almost always vanity. That's it. There is no long-term health reward for deadlifting 600 pounds. There isn't. In fact, I can show you the top 5 or 10% of the strongest people who've ever lived, and I guarantee you they are in the bottom 10% of mortality in age. If you don't count things like some other sudden death issues, right? I'm not talking about looking at mortality from random cases. You get hit by a car at the age of 17. I'm just talking about in general. So I would say, you could even push that to that extent. And I'll add one more fine note to this. Do I actually believe this? No, but I can make the case for it. And I think it in my head sometimes. Almost all soft tissue injuries are caused because of heavy lifting. Almost all.
Oh, interesting.
So you look at these athletes now who have these training programs. Orthopedic offices have never been more full than they are right now, right? And why are there all these issues? That's not just soft tissue, right? That's bone breaks and things of that nature, but just sports medicine doctors in general dealing with injuries. Well, inevitably, people are trying to get an edge, so they're pushing it too much and they're lifting incorrectly. But even those who are lifting quote unquote correctly, you're doing so much already with your muscles in certain sports that are sport specific, right? Like if you're playing football, you're moving, you're sprinting, you're running gassers, you're doing all these things with your team, you're running plays. And then on top of that, now you're adding in this high level lifting regimen. What happens a lot of times is, of course, you get overworked. There's overuse injuries. My wife specializes in overuse injuries, but more than just overuse injuries is that there becomes this then your body then is not in its proper form from a percentage standpoint, efficiency standpoint in its musculature. Let me unpack that. If you were a gymnast and you only did gymnast stuff, pommel horse, right? Is that a thing? Uneven bars, even bars, floor. Your body would develop the proper musculature and the efficiency to do all of those exercises. And the muscles that are supposed to be big would be big, and the muscles that are supposed to be small would be small. Then you add lifting into the regimen, right? And now you cause an unevenness in the body, right? So maybe you do need a proportion in, I'm just saying, whatever sport, let's call it gymnast, right? You need a proportionality in the uneven bars where you have a really large anterior delts. The front of your delt is much larger and it's going to be taking on more pressure. Well, if you're focusing on your medial and your posterior delt and your traps and you're building them up too much, well, there's a cause, right? These muscles are interconnected. You have agonists and antagonists. You have things that are pulling on each other. So now your body becomes less efficient in gymnastics, right? In that particular event. So I think lifting, and you can just look at the injuries in the 1960s compared to 2020. I mean, you can see how many more soft tissue injuries there are, how many more hamstring pulls, how many more Achilles tears and things of this nature. So I think heavy lifting is probably the cause for most soft tissue injuries. Now, would I say that out loud? Maybe not, but I mean, I think in the back of my head, certainly.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. We actually have a friend who's like in good shape, right? Like mid to late 30s, and they were moving furniture. They got like a new piece of furniture they were moving in. He's like, "Oh, I got it." And he went to go lift it, and he actually like tore his bicep. And it's like, anyone would say like, don't lift that dresser, don't do it. But it's like the same kind of thing. In the same way you can get hurt like lifting, like you can get hurt at the gym, right? I think people think like, oh, lifting at the gym is safe. Like it's not. It's
there's only two types of people that tear their biceps, right? It happens in older clientele I've had who have torn their biceps before. Much older, in the 60s and 70s for various reasons. Sometimes it's genetic and otherwise. I don't want to go into all that. But the primary person who tears their bicep is somebody who lifts biceps way too much. And their biceps are shortened and they're big. Right?
And they're tight. Yeah, because he's like very fit. And I was like, how did that happen? Yeah.
Runners aren't tearing their biceps even when they're doing things that are bicep intensive. It's people whose biceps are too shortened. They're shortened. The wrong head is shortened because they work out biceps too much. A bicep tear is a very normal thing in the bodybuilding community.
Yeah,
right?
interesting.
Why is that? You guys are supposed to have the strongest biceps. Why are your biceps tearing?
It seems counterintuitive. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's funny.
So, we'll do a rundown here. We'll see all the things we talked about. Most controversial, maybe I'll take the cake there. Peptides are a plant from China to make America sick. Watermelon is the only fruit you need. AI is going to take out fitness influencers sooner rather than later, financially. We talked about both cancer-related things. Cancers we're not sure yet. We're still doing our investigation. They're either caused because of stomach cancers, because of dishwashers, or because you're stressed. We're not sure.
Anxiety,
We'll do a little bit more digging.
We'll get back to you on you.
And then what was your last one that I'm forgetting?
Alcohol. So alcohol's not the problem. And then the GLP-1s and antidepressants. You need to be seeing somebody. You need to be seeing a healthcare practitioner.
Write us in social@TrulyFitApp, which I actually haven't checked in about a week, so I need to go on there. If there are any things that you think we should have included that we did not include, or anything you strongly agree or disagree with, and maybe we'll do another one of these down the road. This was fun. This has been an episode of the Trulyfit Podcast. Thanks for joining in.
Thanks for having me.